Get started. Good morning and good afternoon to those of you joining on the East Coast. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Scott Trauthen. I'm a marketing director here at Alteryx and joined today by Grazitti Interactive and TRI Pointe Group. We're going to be discussing how to drive omni-channel analytics with Alteryx. And a few housekeeping items before we get started here. First of all, I want to introduce our speakers. Again, that's me on the left. I'm joined today by Sandeep Saini from Grazitti Interactive, who are our VP of Analytics, and also by Jason Antony, the Marketing Director at TRI Pointe Group. He's going to be joining us a little bit later in the broadcast here in about half an hour, and discussing how TRI Pointe Group, they are a nationwide builder and seller of new homes here within the United States, and he's going to be talking about how he uses omni-channel analytics and Alteryx to identify new prospects and also formalize the sales cycle so that they're able to close on those prospects and get people into new homes here across the United States. A few more housekeeping items here. If you want to ask us a question here, go ahead and you're all muted right now, but you can chat with us here in the window. Then you can ask questions that way. You can also tweet with us at Grazitti. If you're following with us here on Twitter, go ahead and tweet to us here with your questions. We'll also try to take a look at them there. But you can also chat your questions to Sandeep and myself, and we'll try to answer them here. We will be hosting a live Q&A session here at the end, and we'll get to your questions here at the end of the session here. A quick look at the agenda. We are going to be discussing what we're going to be talking about today, or for the next hour or so, the importance of omni-channel analytics and how they fit into marketing and modern-day marketing here in this digital age. We're going to be talking about how we expand data reach using connectors with Alteryx, and how we scale marketing analytics to not just be about simple conversations, but also how do you go through and market to individuals and to potential customers through the entire life cycle of engagement. It's not often that we're selling just one simple point product, whether you're talking about selling multiple products, trying to identify upsell opportunities, or in the case of TRI Pointe, trying to sell a very large item, probably the most expensive item that anybody in any given time in their life is going to buy. That sometimes takes time. And so we'll talk about how to use marketing analytics and omni-channel analytics throughout this whole entire cycle, and so you can realize better, improved results through your marketing. Jason will be back to talk about analytics at TRI Pointe, and then we'll take your questions at the end. So again, with the proliferation of devices and marketing channels, this is what we're going to be talking about here for the next 45 minutes to an hour. We have multiple touch points within the sales cycle. At Alteryx, we recently commissioned a study through Harvard Business Review, and we spoke with enterprises, companies of various sizes, from either the largest enterprises all the way down to smaller shops. And one of the questions we asked is, how many different sources of data do you have or do you access in order to learn more about your business? And the number of organizations that just use a data warehouse and have that one beautiful single point of truth within their organization, very, very rare. Most of you, and I think most of you on the webcast today, can identify just with the concept that you're probably getting data from at least 5, might be up to 10 different data sources in order to uncover insight into your business. And this can be from a data warehouse, this can be from social feeds, this can be from hosted CRM platforms such as Salesforce or Sugar CRM. You might be getting information from different websites and gleaning information that way. You're trying to bring in information from your salespeople, and you're trying to bring this all in and make sense of it all in order to make proper business decisions and proper marketing decisions. And this gets really complex very, very, very quickly. And we look at just the different types of and the different number of technologies that are now available to marketers. It's no longer, again, just like you using just one thing. I know in talking with our digital marketing team, just to do digital advertising, It's no longer just about working with Google to set up a pay-per-click campaign. They're working with 5 or 6 different vendors just to create all the channels they need for a digital marketing campaign. And that's just one little aspect of doing marketing. You're also working with field events. You're working with demand gen. You're working with your website. There's all different types of sources here, and the proliferation of different vendors that you can work with in order to grow your data sets and get more information to help your business it's proliferating quite quickly. So when we talk about omni-channel marketing analytics, and Sandeep, this is where we wanted to have a quick conversation here to frame our discussion today. Most people, I think, equate omni-channel to multi-channel analytics, and there is a difference here that we wanted to clarify for the point of our conversation.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Scott, for hosting me over here. Really glad to have been partnering with Alteryx for over, I guess, about 4 or 5 years now. And we have not only helped with Alteryx customers, but also with Alteryx itself when Alteryx is trying to reach to its prospects and customers and keeping them in sync. And I'm really glad we are having this conversation. So when I have been in this business, oh gosh, about, I guess, good part of last 20 years of my life. And all I have done is look at data and try to make sense out of it. And what's kind of interesting is that how do you really bring business and metrics together where it really helps you make business decisions? You don't want it to be a boring Excel, crunching numbers like hundreds of thousands of rows, and you're, as an analyst, you are heads down, and you're just kind of like so detached from the business. So with the help of Alteryx, all this is fun now. I go back to my computer and I look forward to logging into my Alteryx account like, hey, what just happened yesterday? Who came to my website? How did they consume the content that I sent to them? Who do I know these people are, and what really excites them? So going back to the question that Scott just raised, what's the difference between multi-channel and omni-channel? I think the distinction is very, very, at least in my mind, that distinction is very clear. Multi-channel is basically we are leveraging different kinds of technologies to really get that information or the marketing message that we want to share with our prospects and customers. And omni-channel actually takes it to a completely different dimension. So leveraging these technologies, you can actually go and have a digital pulse or a fingerprint of your customers. You know exactly what are the different devices they prefer, what kind of marketing channels do they like, where are they in their life cycle, what really excites them, rather than, like as a traditional marketers, like when I was cool, like back in the day, I was taught a very simple 4 P's of marketing. You have a product, you have priced it right, you have placed it in all the places where people are getting to, and you are promoting it. And, and there's another saying which says like, once you build it, people will come. My dear friends, those days are gone. It's a history. You have to be present wherever your prospects are, wherever they are consuming this content. And you want to connect with them with a coherent story. And you don't want to be reaching too much or too little. So how do you strike a balance? And that's where Alteryx makes you successful. And today we're going to talk about some of the best practices we have implemented at our customers. And then we'll have a real life example. How did we make it happen at TRI Pointe Group?
So it's not just about using multiple channels in order to communicate with potential customers and clients. It's really the coordination of the whole effort. It's the oversight of everything. Exactly. How do we leverage it? How do we use, just because we're hammering them with ads or we're hammering them via social, that may not be the best way to go.
Exactly.
You have to know how you have to be able to have that data feed into your model and being able to oversee everything and see, okay, what is the right ratio of social versus digital versus demand gen versus field? How do we all make this work together in a cohesive manner?
Yes, that's exactly the case here.
Got it.
So jumping in, so let's assume that I'm a B2B marketer and I really want to see, or I'm an exec overseeing the overall, what is the pulse of my business. So I start at the highest level. Who are the people who are interested in my products and services? And I want to start at the highest level, like which industry does my products and services resonate well with? The next level deeper, I want to understand within that industry, what are my top accounts? Within that account, what are the different opportunities that I'm interacting with? Within each of those opportunities, what are the right contacts who are engaged with my marketing messaging? And within that, I want to see what are the different channels that I have leveraged. So although I really apologize, this is a really dense slide, but what we are looking at here is starting at the highest level from accounts and all the way getting into the opportunities, getting into what is the product that we are talking about in this particular use case, and how often did we reach out to them? How many emails were sent? What were the different events they attended? How was the online advertising? How many touch points did we had? If there was an outbound calling, if there was any sales activity that's going on, and the colors here represent when this opportunity actually got created. So this was basically a lead, and they converted into an opportunity. Again, this is a pretty dense slide, but here what I'm looking at is within those contacts, what are their roles within the organization? So if I take a typical use case, if I'm reaching out to my prospects, and let's say I have a junior analyst who starts to evaluate my products and services. He or she downloads the white paper, attends some of my webinars, did X, Y, Z, and then passed on that information to his or her manager. The manager got involved. Then he or she made their recommendation to their director, and eventually a VP got involved. So you really want to understand who these people are, what are their roles, and also what are the different activities they are interacting with you. So somebody actually attending, like a C-level executive attending your webinar or meeting you in person, is very, very different from a junior analyst downloading a white paper. So how do you really put a method to this madness? And that's where Alteryx makes you successful. One of the big pain points that a lot of organizations talk about is marketing and sales, they do not talk to each other. With this visualization,
I've never known marketing and sales to have a disagreement. We're always tight.
Exactly.
We're always tight with our sales brethren here, always.
Yep. Yeah. So I would second to that. We are always tight whenever we're meeting over drinks. But as soon as we step out of that pub, we are always talking different language. And I'm sure that kind of resonates with a lot of people here. But as a marketer, we are always on scrutiny. Where are we spending these dollars? How is it impacting my pipeline? Am I producing enough sales qualified leads? Are these leads coming from the background which really connects with my products and services? So all those questions can be answered with this visual. So as a marketer, I can go and say that the opportunities that I brought in or the leads I brought in from this event or this tactic, and they got touched at so many different touch points. How did they convert versus the ones which did not touch? How did they kind of fell on the wayside? In this view, we are looking at the overall funnel. How are we reaching, starting at the highest level where we have the marketing accepted leads to marketing qualified, sales accepted to closed won, and the revenue it impacted. So basically how each of your marketing channels coming in and out. So if you see, we are spending a lot of time and effort, like I would say 55% at the highest level on search engine marketing, but only 24% of revenue is being touched by that. So we all kind of feel obligated to spend on PPC and retargeting and whatnot, but you have to take a step back and really see if that is the best bang for your buck. Should you be doing something else, for example, events, or having these online demos, or there could be so many other tactics. So with this visual, you can actually go and touch and feel like what's actually happening out in the field. So I have some more graphs, so I won't drag you through each one of these. We can have an offline chat if you have any questions regarding this, but you can kind of drill it down. What are the different activities that you are doing? The number of demos and trials versus content syndication, having a mastery in the field where you are writing, white papers or responding to RFIs and so on and so forth. So how are each of these impacting your bottom line? So if, as a marketer, we have access to this data, nobody can second guess what we bring to the table. We are empowering you, the marketers, to be in the driving seat rather than on the receiving end of the stick. You can cut it by the product. What are the top products you are selling? Which industry is resonating with you? Like, for example, in this visual on the right-hand side, if I look at tech, I have only 71,000 MALs, but they're bringing almost like close to $1 billion to my bottom line. So if I'm reaching out and, what are the personas I should be talking to, which industry they sit in, what is the level or the designation, and so on and so forth. So you can normalize all of that, leveraging the power of analytics. What are the different campaigns that you are investing in, how they are performing? And this is my favorite slide. I want every C-level exec to have bookmarked this page or pushed to their mobile device. What is marketing doing for the company, right? Period. Mm-hmm. Like, this should be communicated to every single person in the organization that we are bringing value and we are driving business.
Sandeep, you've been showing us, I wouldn't quite call it utopia, but well on the way to, data sets, and being able to bring data into the conversation. And from all the information that we've been seeing so far on these dashboards, there's a lot of information to be gleaned. Now the question becomes, how do we get there? And how do we get that data in the first place? Because we find that is a challenge that a lot of organizations face, is being able, one, to get access to all your data and being able to trust your data.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about that here. Many of you on the webcast here may be very familiar with Alteryx, but just to do a quick introduction, if you're just learning about us here, Alteryx is the leading platform for self-service data analytics. Alteryx provides analysts with the unique ability to easily prep, blend, and analyze all of their data using a repeatable workflow, and then deploying and sharing analytics at scale for deeper insights in just hours and not weeks. It's useful to think of Alteryx as a repeatable workflow to prep, blend, and analyze all of your data. First, we enable analysts to access, prep, and blend all relevant data they need for their analytics, whether that data is stored in third parties or in custom data warehouses like Hadoop, a warehouse, in the cloud, or even on your desktop in Excel. Data types can be structured, they can be unstructured, or even semi-structured. Alteryx can work with all of them and join them all together on common fields or geographic proximity. And then we also have relationships with some of the leading providers of third-party data. So you can enrich your internally collected data with additional insight. The end result is that you can easily join data from multiple different sources to create the analytic data set you need for analysis. And next, you can use the same workflow and the same intuitive user interface to perform your analytics. And this can be predictive, statistical, spatial. The predictive capabilities, and some of them you'll see there, and you'll see some R there. It's like, yes, everything that we do in predictive is based on the R language. And we have created package tools that can be simply dragged and dropped into the workflow and then configured. These tools require no coding expertise, but for those of you who do have an R programmer on staff, or if you're very familiar with programming in R yourself, you can customize these tools or even create your own tools to be reused within Alteryx. Our spatial analytics tools utilize data from TomTom to build trait areas based on drive times or other variables, so that you can do all the advanced analytics that you need here, again, whether predictive, spatial, or statistical. And you can see some examples there. And here's some examples of the different connectors that we use. Our connectors, and again, this is basically a way for Alteryx to connect in real time and in an automated fashion into different data sets, whether it be bringing in spreadsheets or whether it be accessing different databases such as Mongo or Oracle, bringing in information from Google Analytics, from Marketo. It doesn't matter. This is a way for Alteryx to connect in real time with these different data sources, and again in an automated fashion so that you're not having to go in and download a bunch of information from Google and put it in a spreadsheet and then bring it in. What Grazitti has done is build a number of these connectors that we didn't necessarily have, and providing a valuable resource for not only for Alteryx, but for a lot of our customers as well. And Grazitti, you guys have been doing this for a long time, Sandeep, here.
Yeah. So, Scott, like we have been working with our customers for almost like 10 years, and trying to understand who they are and what they are trying to solve for. And a lot of time, I have personally used Alteryx, and I find it really, really a powerful tool. But as we recall, we had over 5,000 different marketing tech stacks. And, actually by the time we finished this webcast, there might already be a couple more which just kind of popped up out of nowhere. So as a product company, Alteryx cannot scale to connect with all of these 5,000 and counting underlying systems. And that's where we come in. So what we have done is, so just a little bit of background about who we are. We are a full-service agency where we have been in business for over close to a decade, and we have worked with over 1,000 B2B clients, and we help them across multiple different dimensions as a full-service professional services organization. And just to kind of talk about who are our customers. So they come from all different, shapes and sizes and backgrounds. So you will see a lot of familiar names here. We work with, 4 of the Fortune, the biggest tech companies in the world, and all the other companies who are on their way to get there. So pretty much starting from a small startup all the way to 100,000 or 200,000 strong enterprise customers. So when we were working with a lot of disparate data systems, what we realized that, as new and new data sets keep coming, we have to create a way to ingest this data so that as a marketer or as an analyst, you are not dependent on your IT departments to create that data warehouse, but you can ingest that data on the fly, and you can not only read, but also write back in certain cases all the work that you have just done. So here is a list of connectors which we have already built. So over 30 connectors have already been built, and we have a pipeline of over 100 connectors that we are actively working on, and they will be live within next few months. So if there is any of these connectors that you always wanted, I wish I could ingest data from, let's say, Qualtrics. Who are these people? What are their survey results? Can I connect this survey with the life of a customer? So rather than going, a traditional way, you can fetch this data directly into Alteryx and build your workflow. And we have a website which is called alteryxconnectors.grazitti.com. And by the way, you don't have to memorize this. You will get this.
That's quite a website there.
Yep. Yeah, it's pretty mouthful. We kind of went back and forth on the name, and I think I kind of I listened to pretty much everybody, but eventually I said, what, let's go the way I want to go with this name. So what we have on here is you can go to this website and download a connector. It is a complimentary 14-day trial. It is a fully functional connector, and you can fetch your real data, touch and feel, and see if it kind of solves the problems you have on hand. And if you don't see what you're looking for, just connect with us, send us an email, and we surely will get back to you within no time.
So how do we scale this up here? How do we, we have the connectors, we have the Alteryx tool, and we're trying to bring in all of this data. And using Alteryx, we can, start to blend in and build that trusted data source that we're using to make these marketing decisions. And you have a quick breakdown here of the different analytics here.
Yeah. So I'm kind of feeling a little bit of nostalgia here, Scott, to be frank. So when I started working with data back in the day, good old 90s, everybody looked at me as a geek. Like, what is this guy doing? Building these crazy big spreadsheets which nobody wanted even to touch. I still remember one of the models that I had built back in the day. It took almost 7 hours of churning through all the logic and whatnot. Like going through cell by cell, going through this crazy amount of VBA code. And nobody wanted to be called analysts back in the day. And today, we are like the data scientists. It has so much of kind of aura around the way it is being presented. But when I take a step back, we're still doing the same thing. We're consuming a massive amount of data in real time and making a sense out of it. But I feel like so much more in making my introduction as a data scientist, like then saying like, I have been working on these big Excel spreadsheets for last X number of years. So kind of that's a sidebar conversation. So a lot of us might already be very familiar with these three key buzzwords in the industry. But just to recap, descriptive is basically we are doing a lot of data mining and looking at historical data, doing aggregation, and bringing in some insights based on what we see. The next stage in this journey is predictive. So the first one is what we did and how we did it. Then what will happen in future is where the predictive comes in. And prescriptive is we are actually helping decision makers with the next best thing. What are the things they should be doing to make it even better for their customers? And here is a very high-level conceptual slide. So one of the things I want to call out to my fellow analysts and marketers, like, if you or your stakeholders are thinking, you press a button and overnight you will reach from the left lower corner to the right topmost corner. I guess, my friends, you are in for, some kind of a shock. This is a long journey. This is not going to happen overnight. We need...
And probably not a straight line, as we have in the slide. We're sorry for the false advertising here, folks. But, I think there are a lot of companies that Alteryx works with, who are, churning through massive amounts of data using Excel, maxing out their spreadsheets and everything and trying to make sense of it. The challenge there, in a lot of ways, in working with tools like Excel, is that data quality becomes into question. If you're trying to find an error in your VLOOKUP, or if something broke, which, granted, I've never known Excel to break, but sometimes it does happen.
You're still right, Scott.
There's a data quality issue, and it comes down to the simple question: can you trust your data? That's a very critical first step in the analytics journey, is being able to trust your data. From there, you can start, once you have that settled, then you can go ahead and start getting into some of the more advanced analytics capabilities, and in that process. But that data quality is a critical first step. How do you trust your data? And then you can start getting into some of the insights in terms of what it's telling you. And it really is, as Sandeep said, a journey to get to more of the stages where you're making some predictions and being able to be prescriptive in what you're telling, not only your bosses and you're telling your colleagues around you as a data analyst, but as you move down this path, it takes you into the realm of what we call the citizen data scientist, and maybe not having the full PhD, but the tools that we are showing you today and the methodology, can help you make those proper judgments, get to those insights that you can share not only with your colleagues, but also with the C-level. And it gives you a valuable voice within the boardroom and within your leadership there.
Yep, you are right on, Scott. I think the key step here is having the right expectation as an analyst and as a marketer, and also getting a buy-in from all your stakeholders so that they know that, this is a long path, but it is an exciting path. There will be hiccups along the way, but in the end, you're going to be super excited and super happy with what you brought to the table. So what we have done is we have basically, we have worked, as I was sharing, we have worked with over 1,000 B2B and B2C customers over the last 10 years or so. And every time I walk into a room, I would, meet my clients, and they will think like, oh, because we are in manufacturing business and I manufacture widgets, so my business problems are very, very different from everybody else. And the same thing will repeat in another room, like, oh, I built a software product and it has got nothing to do with the widget company. So everybody thinks their processes are very, very unique. But we all know as a marketer, there are some nuances which are specific to your business, but there are so many common themes, and you will see that repeat over and over and over again. So the solution we created is primarily centered around Alteryx. So Alteryx is the engine here. Everything to the left of the Alteryx box and to the right, you can think of that as a commodity. It is almost like different pieces of a Lego. You can bring in, Salesforce and replace it with Sugar CRM, or with Microsoft Dynamics. You can have Google Analytics versus Adobe. You might want to do campaigns using Adobe Campaign versus Marketo. All that is fungible. What is in the middle of this is the brains. How do you actually stitch together this story and really build a coherent theme, like how you're touching your prospects and customers along their life cycle, and then you push the solution into a data warehouse. You get all this data, blend it together, prep it, and send it to a data warehouse. And on top of that, you can have all kind of reports in Tableau or Power BI or Click, or your homegrown system, or in Excel. I hope you don't use Excel for reporting, but that's a valid option as well.
Yeah, and you can go directly from Alteryx into those visualizations as well. So we have connectors directly into Tableau, into Power BI, into Click, and all those guys in order to do that specialty type of reporting, that visualization that a lot of people leverage, right?
And actually, what is interesting, that only a small fraction of us actually push the data into a front-end tool. And I was in talks with Dean the other day, and he's the CEO at Alteryx. And some of the data points that he shared, like about more than 2/3 of us actually push it into other systems, whether it is for building predictive models or prescriptive models or any other tool that we might be using. So in a lot of people's mind, Tableau or Power BI is the end goal. In reality, a very small fraction of us kind of end up there, and there is much more beyond Tableau and Power BI.
It's story time.
Yes, sir.
And with that, we wanted to bring in Jason Antony, who is the marketing director at TRI Pointe Group, to join us and give us some real-world examples of how TRI Pointe uses Alteryx and leverages a lot of the expertise from Grazitti to do their marketing and to identify new prospects and new customers for themselves and for their homes. So Jason, are you there?
I am. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you. So many of you might wonder kind of how does a home builder kind of play in this kind of parts with customers and B2B businesses. Here's our spectrum on the United States. So we have companies like Quadrant Homes and Winchester's spanning across the nation. So each of these actually represents a family of home builders that we own. Each of them have their own markets. Each of them have their own needs and kind of process in place that we needed to accommodate. So it's similar to a big enterprise company on a B2B front. And we'll go into kind of what are some of the similar challenges that we have that mirror kind of a B2B business overall. So moving on to the next slide, giving you some background of who TRI Pointe Group is. We started off in 2009 in the midst of the recession. We quickly grew into Northern California and Colorado as TRI Pointe Homes. And in 2014, this is when we adopted all the extra home builders that we call family from Quadrant Homes, Trendmaker Homes, Winchester Homes, and Party Homes, and Marquee Homes, they have been folded underneath the TRI Pointe Group family, but we have a different mantra than other home builders. We like to be a family of local home builders, which means that we value the fact that they are independent companies that look at the local markets and have their local needs. And I mean that in a genuine way because it's the best of big and small. These smaller local companies have the benefit of using enterprise solutions that we bring to the table and tools and ways to kind of leverage that, which they may have not have been able to do because they were a smaller company. So that happened in 2014. And I would say in 2015, I had the privilege of getting hired with great leadership that had a vision of how we were going to build our enterprise solutions. And I think we started working with Grazitti in 2016, or maybe, in 2016. And we've made such progress over the last year and a half of moving all our analytics, moving all our websites, moving all our digital marketing fronts into 2017, really. And we have a great, bright future ahead of us with Grazitti and Alteryx, for sure. So giving you a background of the home purchasing cycle, it's very similar to everyone on the call. So we have discovery, reach, consideration, and offer and closing, similar to a B2B business. Because of the price point of homes, this is a big life-changing moment. It's a big consideration. It's a huge one. Sometimes you'll do it once in your life. Sometimes you'll do it multiple times in your life. But a lot of this from discovery, changes in your life may trigger just exploring new homes. User behaviors, price points, economy, things like that may impact that as well. Then when people are researching, they're going to look at price points. They're going to narrow down their search into location specifically. And then the consideration kind of is a little bit more fine-tuned. They're going to look at their mortgage pre-approval process, more time on site, and some of these targeted searches are in play. And then obviously the offer and closing is probably the most stressful part. This is the part that you're probably going to dread the most. Negotiation, just mortgage companies, and then which specific community of interest you may be interested in. But this isn't very linear. This happens all at once, sometimes in the single day. This may go back and forth. So this chart, obviously there's a success path if only things were linear, but it's not. You're going to be moving, as a customer, you would be moving from maybe even from a failed negotiation back to discovery. Or maybe you have a dormant customer that has just been sitting, not doing anything, and they're actually doing discovery or research. Things could go back and forth. This is no longer a linear path or a funnel. Customers are jumping in all different directions, sometimes within minutes, sometimes within hours. Our purchase cycle is really huge, which we could go into the next slide. So some of the challenges that we have as marketers as TRI Pointe Group, our purchase cycle is very long. Because it's such a big consideration factor due to the price points and investment into a home, you can imagine that buying a home can take up to 6 months, maybe even several years, depending on how the economy is, how much you have budgeted for a new home, or maybe just finding the right fit, the perfect home. Our biggest competitor is not just another new home builder. It's actually existing home sales. So the street next door that have what we call used homes, you could say, on Zillow, on Trulia, those are really kind of our competitors, because a customer could kind of jump ship, think that they could remodel a fixer-upper. So we kind of try to show them the value of purchasing a new home, similar to how B2B businesses have to kind of show the value of why your product is better than a competitor's product. Similar challenges, because we are a nationwide company, we have multiple brands with local marketing heads. Like I said, they're kind of working as independent companies, so each team has a marketing department. So we try to provide them tools that they can leverage, and they're responsible for their own budgets and their own goals. And of course, we're always there to help them out. So if you have a kind of a decentralized enterprise company across the nation, across the world, we found that there are similarities to that, where you have to provide them with the tools and kind of lead them in the path of providing, good insights, analytics to you guys back up, and you're providing great insights and goals for them in the future. And let's see. Yeah, due to the price points and geography, those are some of the challenges as well. So how do leads engage with our channels from time they're introduced to our brand? So again, there's multiple brands here, and we know that they're going to be executing emails. We know some of their advertising kind of assets that are going out into market. But it's interesting, like Sandeep said, we want to get that fingerprint. And so using Marketo, Alteryx, and Tableau, we can visualize a little bit of an individual's activity and what has a positive impact or what may have a negative impact. So this graph kind of demonstrates kind of how we were adjusting and pivoting to what are some of the actions that happen in a customer lifecycle, like the kind of email messages should be sent based off their status, and how many touch points are making a positive impact and how many touch points are making a negative impact overall. Next slide. So again, this is pretty detailed. A prospect which is completely entrenched would have, much more positive transition from one stage to the next stage in our lead lifecycle. Or you may see red signs where a prospect, due to their actions or missed opportunities, just aren't showing any signs of engagement overall. So that gives us some viewpoint that this type of person may not be the right customer for us in the future. So you can see there's probably a great future of kind of overlaying all this information and then start painting what that fingerprint looks like overall. So a lead responding to an email communication on a regular basis and in frequency, but then stopped responding to marketing is highly to drop off unless intervened. So we could tell in this kind of fashion, we could probably build alerts to our sales team to immediately call someone based off scoring models and the information that we have in Tableau and Alteryx coming through. Versus a lead that's engaging with a very short period of time, that we would want to flag over to our sales team to call and move them faster through the pipeline.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Jason. So one of the key themes that kept coming in our discussion. So I have been working very closely with Jason for almost like a year and a half, as he mentioned. So a lot of time, like we were talking about, like as a marketer, we do so many activities, right? We reach out, we do some kind of user group, we do survey-based questions, we do so many different activities, and we spend lot of time and energy doing that. I think all those are really valid marketing tools. But if you have a pulse of a customer, who they are, what are they doing, what motivates them, what are their desires, what is their background, you can enrich this data with so many different data points, like did these people attended a college, have they purchased a house in the past, do they have children, what kind of hobbies do they have, do they travel? You can bring in so many different aspects into the life of a customer not only what they're doing, but who they really are. And you can really market to them in a one-on-one personalized way where you are not, they don't see you as somebody who's just kind of like sending these emails and kind of, dragging them down. But this is TRI Pointe who knows who I am. TRI Pointe understand what are my aspirations. They know I have a small child, and this child will be going to a school, and I want to be close to the park, and I want to do X, Y, and Z. So showcasing that one-on-one communication which really resonates is really the bottom line here.
All right. So we also wanted, pull our data from our marketing channels like paid search, organic, direct, display, referral, email, social. The list could go on. But we really wanted to understand the impact of those channels and what brings in maybe warm, hot, cold leads. Those are type of insights that a lot of these marketing channels need to know in order to make informed marketing decisions overall. Overlaying that information with some of the just top level information like just sessions and page views are also insightful. Then looking at the frequency and recency of people visiting the website, like I said, what are some of their behaviors and activities? Do they visit the website more than once? Do they download white papers, or in our case, floor plans and PDFs? Do they favorite some of our products? Do they look at certain products versus other ones? We can start getting some insights by overlaying their demographic information like age, page views, by age, and even gender. Of course, we're an equal housing opportunity company, but this type of insights is not meant specifically for targeting, but also providing the information, the right information for the right person. That's really our main objective here. Is to provide everyone the most make them as informed as possible so that they can make an educated purchase in the future. Looking at how our email campaigns are performing, again, how many emails is too many? How many emails is too little? Their open rates, their click-through rates, are emails providing the right call to action? So when we look at open rate, you could see this graph, this demonstration of this graph by type. A reminder email should have a really good open rate versus, some of the educational ones, you may want to kind of have a greater open rate because that means that people are engaged. There's a lot of things that you could read into from a type perspective that categorizing some of this information on emails will give you better insights of what type of messages your customers need. Not all emails are equal. Your autoresponder is not equal to your, in our case, a phase release email. So we want to measure that quite differently overall. And then, so this kind of shows a little bit of a demonstration of what the funnel looks like, current lead statuses, and then how they kind of proceed from month over month. This one was interesting for us to evolve and build just in the top left-hand corner. This would demonstrate kind of when people are created, overlaid with information of what status people would be in at that specific time frame. So really fun to kind of leverage all of these data points and overlaying them on top of each other. So the funnel is all over the place. It's not very linear anymore, but it's more of a snapshot in time of where all your prospects are and where they have been and where you want them to be in the future. Days to convert is really important. How do you move people forward faster and faster each month?
Thank you, Jason. Sorry to cut you off. Like, we are kind of nearing our time limit very, very quickly. I wanted to, kind of walk us through what some of the next steps, like what's coming down. So thank you so much for taking time to share the story. This was just a sneak peek. I think we, if I recollect, we have built probably like close to like probably 100 different cuts of these metrics, maybe a couple hundred. So really trying to understand how each of the channels performing, and you want to see the omni-channel, but at the same time, you also want to take it to next level and see how each of these individually performing, and then kind of bubble it up again. So as next steps, descriptive is interesting, but what really fascinates is really the prescriptive and predictive. Who we are, like who are these prospects and customers, bringing all the data sets, to enrich them, leveraging their demographics, firmographics, behavioral, intent data, if they have been a prior customer, what is their social engagement, and bringing in a ton and ton of this information and really trying to showcase what's next. How can we engage with them? How do we make it better experience for them is really what the goal is. And here's a sample workflow that we have built for one of our customers, looking at, so again, a lot of different symbols. So some of you might find it like, oh, yep, I know what's happening here, but some of you might say like, what the heck is this, right? So what we are trying to showcase here is basically a sneak peek into our future webinar, where a date to be determined, but basically how do you leverage all these disparate data sets and enrich them with third-party data sources and build all these really interesting models. You want to see the logistic regression or decision tree or random forest or neural network or SVM or like you name it. You can build like dozens and dozens of these different models. And then on top of that, you can create your champion challenger and see like which model really fits in. So Alteryx makes it happen at the click of a button. Like I wish I had all these tools back in the day. So just as a side note, I spent about close to 5 years at eBay, where I was head of global marketing analyst, responsible for marketing to over 100 million active customers, looking at trillions of these data points and making sense out of it. I wish I had Alteryx. I knew Alteryx at that time, and I could have partnered with them. My life would have been so much more interesting than, just bringing this like terabytes of data and making a sense out of it. So luckily for all of you, you do have Alteryx as a friend that you can go back to and, make fun out of this journey. So we will have a follow-up session in not too distant future. But with that, we have about 5 minutes left before we wrap up, and we wanted to open it up for any Q&A. And we will email this presentation very shortly, within the next day or two. But feel free to reach out if you have any questions.
Yeah, and as Sandeep just said, we've been speaking for the last 55 minutes or so on the concept of omni-channel analytics and some best practices for bringing information together so that you can manage and go through this process. And Jason, thank you very much for showing us how TRI Group makes this all work in conjunction with Grazitti there and using Alteryx as a powerful tool. For the next webinar that we'll be sending you an invite for here at upcoming time, it's going to be a little bit more hands-on with, okay, how do we go to that next step with predictive? Yep. And then we'll be covering that as well. So if you have a question for us, please feel free to use the chat tab there in the GoToMeeting session here bar on your upper right-hand corner and type a question, and we'll get to it here in the next couple of minutes. A couple quick questions that we can start off with. Sandeep, take us through just a quick explanation of some of the major challenges in omni-channel analytics. What are most of your customers struggling with right now?
Sure. I think that is really a very, very key question for most of us as analysts as well as marketers. Data in real life is dirty. When I have to put together a presentation, I can have my ideal data set all cleansed and ready to be fed into a data model. But in real life, that is the most challenging part, where first of all, most of us work in really large enterprise companies where there are lots of silos, there are lots of decision makers, there are a lot of different red tape you have to go through to access the data. And also this whole fear, what if once I open this up to the marketer or to the analyst, what will they be able to find all the holes in what I'm doing? So convincing and bringing everybody to the same page actually, it is really important for us to identify those gaps. And I'm not trying to pinpoint and say like, this is, how bad your data is. We are here to help you take it to the next level, where we identify, things like if we did a list purchase and half of the email IDs that I got in that list, actually they were bad emails. They were Mickey Mouse leads. And I'm spending a lot of time and I'm carrying that weight along with me through this entire journey. We have tens of thousands of really bad email IDs and whatnot, and the phone numbers and the contacts. So bringing everybody to the same page and getting this buy-in, we are in it together, is one of the most important and very, very difficult. Like in my experience, that's what I found. But once we are all on the same page, bringing this data, ingesting it, and making sense out of it is fun. But getting to that could be challenging. But along with that, when you have all these different disparate systems, like how do you make sure they are unique and all this data kind of nicely fits in together, and actually showcasing, like a lot of time you will build an analysis and you will say like, I spent so many days and nothing came out of it, which is okay, because as I was saying, it is a journey, and the more we get into it and more consumers, more stakeholders actually start consuming, the better will be the end result.
We had a slide up earlier that showed the website for where folks can download the trial of the different connectors that you've built. Maybe we can bring that up here again just so people can take a look at it here, because it was a good long URL that we had there. Yes, so available, all the connectors that Grazitti has built for connecting Alteryx to different marketing APIs and applications, including Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Google Analytics. All of that can be found. Here's the full list so far, and these are very popular tools. I know that we're constantly bringing information in from LinkedIn. We host videos on YouTube, and we're bringing that information in as well. So there's a lot of different connectors that Grazitti has built for getting the automatic and automated connection via Alteryx into these various apps and resources here. The website again is alteryxconnectors.grazitti.com, and as you said here, Sandeep, there's all these come with a free 14-day trial.
That's correct,
and including the Alteryx trial. So if for those of you who are not current Alteryx users, if you want to try out Alteryx and start building your own workflows, you can download the Alteryx trial at alteryx.com/trial. And just in your information there, you can download a free 14-day trial of Alteryx. And then you might want to go to alteryxconnectors.grazitti.com and download a couple of connectors and try them out. So what are the pricing on the connectors if people want to go ahead and purchase them right now?
Yes. So it is fairly inexpensive. We charge $1,000 a year per connector per seat. So for example, if you have an enterprise-wide deployment of Alteryx and you have 200 different users, but only 3 of you actually really use this particular data set. Like for example, if it is a Alteryx data and you want to look at your survey data, and 197 of those 200 do not use it, you have to pay only for the 3 people who will actually be using, and it is a named user account. So basically it is tied to your Alteryx desktop license or a server license. For example, if it's on server, anybody who has access to server will be actually able to use it.
And because Alteryx is not a static software, we're constantly updating and enhancing our capabilities, and the different apps that we connect to, that Grazitti has built these connectors for, they're constantly updating and changing as well. Does Grazitti keep the connector itself updated and constantly developing it?
Yeah, I think that's an excellent question again, Scott. We want to make sure that when you are ingesting data, you are getting the most out of the underlying platform. So, for example, if Instagram has added 4 new fields and they came out with a release, we'll make sure that we are ready in time when they go out with their newest release. So we have an SLA and uptime guarantee of our connectors. So you do not have to worry about any of the maintenance of these connectors, and that's why we have a SaaS model rather than handing you, a static connector which will go obsolete and which is guaranteed to actually go obsolete in X number of months, because all the underlying platforms keep coming up with the new releases.
With that, we've gone a few minutes over, so we've hit the 1 hour mark. We want to, and if there are no further questions here, I see some more coming in. We'll have to loop back with folks here individually one-on-one, which we will do. So we wanted to wrap up here, and thank you all for staying with us here for the full hour. Very much appreciate it. We will be sending out a recording of this session, and you should be getting that here, I would say no later than Thursday. So give us a couple days to make sure we clean things up a little bit and do the editing, and we'll make sure that we send that out to everyone who attended and also registered. You'll get the recording here by Thursday. Give us a couple days. With that, I want to thank Jason from TRI Group. Jason, thank you very much for joining us again today. Really appreciate it. Sandeep, thanks again for coming in here today and showing us the power that the connectors that Grazitti built and the resources and the knowledge that you have, how that can support data analysts and the citizen data scientists out there with building omni-channel analytics for their marketing operations.
Thank you so much, Scott. Pleasure is all mine. It's always fun to connect with fellow analysts and marketers and see what are the problems on their plate, and if we can anyway help them, whether it is just to kind of bounce off an idea or any of the challenges they are facing. So please feel free to connect with Scott and I if you have anything on your mind. Or if you are in the Bay Area, let's kind of get together and grab a drink whenever you are here. So I look forward to connect with you and also meet you in our next follow-up presentation, which will be announced very shortly.
Good point. And then, yes, you will all be getting an email just to follow up. Thanks for attending and viewing this webinar. We'll have some contact information so you can follow up with Sandeep and the Grazitti team. Or if you have questions about Alteryx, feel free to follow up with us directly or visit our website at alteryx.com. Or you can also visit grazitti.com and get more information about the various connectors for Alteryx. Thank you all very much for joining us today. Greatly appreciate it, and we'll catch you on down the trail. Have a good one.
Thank you.